everyone, and welcome back to another exciting session of TestMu 2025. I am Mohammad Afzal, Manager for Growth and Marketing at Test, and I am delighted to be your host for this session on surviving and thriving with AI in QA. AI is transforming how we test software, but adopting it isn't just about automation. It's about understanding its potential and limits and making sure human creativity, critical thinking, and expertise stay central to quality assurance. In this session, we will explore how QA teams can embrace AI as a powerful ally, building confidence and resilience while adapting to change. Before we begin, just a few housekeeping items. This session is being recorded and you will receive the full recording over your registered email. You can also rewatch it anytime on AirMeet or later on the LandTest YouTube channel. Please use the Q&A section uh, on the screen for you to ask the questions and we'll cover them towards the end. Don't forget to share your learnings and favorite moments on social media with hashtag TestMuCon. Now, I am very excited to welcome our speaker, Maryia, Quality Engineering Leader at Regent AB. With her deep experience in shaping QA practices and guiding teams through AI adoption, she will share practical insights on how to not just survive, but truly thrive with AI. Maryia, thank you so much for joining us today. The stage is all yours.
Thank you very much for having me here, and let's start. Well, imagine stepping into a boxing ring. In the other corner, you see not another human, but a giant robot. Well, you might hear that the crowd is screaming, you're going to lose, and so on. But you know that the robot is fast, it never sleeps, it has a lot of data to work with, it knows more than you could even memorize. But here's the twist. What if instead of fighting the robot, you shook its hand? What if you instead of your opponent, the robot became your friend or your teammate, maybe? Suddenly, this unbeatable force is no longer against you, but it's with you. It's on your side. My name is Maryia. I'm a tester, a curious human, and someone who's spent years thinking about how people and technology work together. And if you want to know more about me, or if you want to chat or ask anything, or just share your opinion, feel free to contact me on LinkedIn. There are a lot of marketing smoke, I would say, around AI. And in this situation, I would like to kind of stay sane, to try to find the balance between hype and reality. And in this talk, I'm going to try to cut through the hype and share research-based perspective on AI in testing. And by the end, my goal is to leave you with practical tips and some inspiration on how to thrive in QA role by applying AI wisely. Well, AI is here to stay, as you know. It's not going to go anywhere for sure, but so are we as well. So we are a testing community that's not going to go anywhere either. Here is the first idea that I want to plant. AI is not flawless. AI has significant limits, especially when it comes to tasks like software testing, because we are not just checking things. Testing requires a lot of human insight. And because of those limits, human testers are probably not going away anytime soon. In fact, I believe that the future belongs to those who can combine what AI does best with what humans do best. And there are a lot of things where we shine a lot more than AI. And to unpack that sentence, to unpack this idea, let's explore this in 3 different angles: the social, technical, and ethical. And all these 3 aspects, they kind of shape how AI fits into our work and in our lives as well. And together, all these 3 aspects, they will give us a well-rounded picture of why we testers, why we software engineers, why we software managers still matter in the AI era, and kind of how we can make most of this technology. Well, social aspects, they're all about how this new technology impacts individuals and different communities, different social groups of people. Technical aspects, they're focusing more on practical challenges, on the problems with different innovations that are involved in the whole process. And ethical aspects, they kind of show how we can make sure that we use AI technology responsibly. And together, all these three aspects, they tell us something powerful. AI is really, really strong, but it's not complete, and it needs us. Let's start with social aspects. And well, I kind of like to always find proofs for any ideas that I have. And the idea with this lecture is that, well, let's look at research papers that show us something meaningful about AI, and take it as a starting point for improving ourselves with the help of different tools as well and techniques. Let's start with social aspects. Well, LLMs are changing how we write and speak. You probably noticed already that emails, LinkedIn posts, they have been changing a lot lately, and not always in a good way, I must say. Well, we kind of all start sounding the same, isn't it? And over time, this leads to losing our uniqueness, our authenticity, and this in turn, believe it or not, but it affects whether people are trusting us. And in the end, it also influences project outcomes, and in the end, also our job security. So if we're not authentic, if we're not human, then we affect this trust in ourselves. Another study also shows that after the rise of LLMs, our willingness to share knowledge significantly dropped. And the decline after the rise of LLMs is, of course, concerning, but it's not really surprising because, well, often there are quite a lot of questions that we testers have, and sometimes we or our colleagues, we just don't dare asking all of these questions our colleagues or teammates. And the core problem here is that good testing needs not just answers, it needs context, right? It relies on curiosity, it relies on doubt, and challenge with virtual communication with AI is that it can't provide this context that we humans working on different projects have. Another social factor is who is using AI. There is a huge gender gap because most of the Gen AI tools, they're mostly used by men, often because they feel more confident using these tools. They kind of feel brave to use new technology and so on and so on. And many women feel underrepresented. They feel less visible in AI spaces. But whatever the reasons, this is a problem because we all know that more diversity equals better outcomes, and different perspectives catch different issues, and we need this balance here as well. And the last thing that we want is for AI to widen, to make this gender gap even more, gender gap in tech and in general. So my wish would be that AI tools would help with that rather than making it even worse. So what do we do about these social challenges? I believe that we need to support each other and share even small success stories. And working place, our work environment needs to be a safe space for experimentation. And well, people tend to dare experimenting more when they know that it's okay to play. It's okay to create this little AI pet project. When we have this safety, we tend to apply new technology more freely. Well, anyone can bring an AI related experiment, big or small, success or failure, and just talk about it. And that's the core for the ground thing where we could build the bigger projects and live projects on. The next thing is technical challenges in AI adoption. And we hear a lot about what AI can do, but it's equally important to know what it technically can do. One emergent concern or problem is something called model collapse. And we might run out of human-made data for training LLMs quite soon, because AI tools itself, they're creating a lot more and more content constantly. And this means that there is less human created data to use for training. And we actually see it already now. And there is no need to wait until next year or 2 years more, because we already see it. Like latest models, they don't show impressive progress as previous models, right? And that's because they don't have enough data to train on. And one thing that scientists and engineers could do to train models is using synthetic data. And using synthetic data or like non-human created data, machine created data to train models, it helps save resources, of course, and it helps bypassing challenges like copyright restrictions or privacy issues. However, relying too much on self-generated data also causes problems, making the models worse over time. So yeah, and this type of model decline is called model collapse, and that's what we're seeing in slow motion with the yeast models. And on top of that, current models, they don't have spatial understanding. They don't understand what happens in real space, right? And they don't have perspective. They don't have imagination yet. There might come um, in future AI models, but right now LLMs, they don't have these capabilities. We need kind of another sort of technology to engineer to have these possibilities. And many studies show that even small changes in standard benchmark questions using LLMs, they result in big drop in performance, and we need to be aware of this. Well, again, context matters. If we send a question that LLM already seen before, then we get a reasonable answer probably. If the question is quite unique, then we might end up with wrong or messed up information. I believe that technical challenges shouldn't stop innovation, of course, even though there are quite many. But let's not forget that Gen AI is quite unpredictable. It's non-deterministic. So when we send the same input, it's not guaranteed that we get the same output, right? And treating its output as absolute truth without any checks is quite risky. And as testers, we know that trusting black boxes without questioning them, without double checking, is a bad idea. And here I can't emphasize too much that knowing the limitations of any AI systems makes life a lot easier. So keep an eye on technical developments to be on top of the wave. And last but very important aspect that we'll look at is the ethical side of things. If technical stuff was about can it work, then the ethical stuff is more about should we do it and under which conditions. Well, AI doesn't run on magic, of course, and it runs on the electricity, and companies need a lot of it because training a large model can consume amounts of electricity equivalent to the energy maybe used by a small town. And of course, there is no accurate data about energy consumption because most of the companies they try to avoid publishing it. But energy demands are actually so high right now that, for example, in the US, they started to reopen old oil plants. Well, is this the way we want to go? I'm not sure. And another ethical concern is concentration of power. As I mentioned, building top AI systems is very expensive, and it's not like making a mobile app or web app in your garage, right? Training models requires huge resources, both computational and training data, and unfortunately, no university can afford it. Only a tiny number of big tech companies have enough resources to innovate in this field. And this is scary. This is scary because without independent innovation, it might lead us to one sided applications that are only serving to the needs of big tech companies, making social economic problems even worse. And one example of how LLMs responses worsen social gap is by generating biased decisions about people based on their race, on their income, on their dialect, on their name, and so on and so on. And a sad example of it just happened in Sweden. One social security agency started where I'm from, where social agency tried to start making decisions based on AI decisions, which went really, really wrong. So what's the remedy? Well, actually, human accountability. That's us people who are accountable for AI decisions, because that's we who hand over the decisions, and that's we who are responsible for the decisions AI systems make. So, what does it all this tell us? It tells us actually that AI is not all magic. It needs us. It needs our questions, our creativity, and so on. And considering what we just discussed about AI research, I strongly believe that the best we can do in this situation is to meet this AI challenge with pride, with confidence, and to continue testing as we did it with any other normal technology, knowing the limitations and strong sides of AI systems. Well, and now I would like to invite you to try a little experiment. You'll see a QR code on the screen, and I invite you to take out your phones and join this live poll. And the question on the poll is, what opportunities do you see for AI in testing? What do you think is the best thing about AI in testing? Just send a few words if you want. And in a few minutes, we'll have a word cloud of your ideas that we'll review together. And I'm doing this because I truly believe that we're smarter when we're together, and AI is new for all of us, and nobody has all the answers. So let's crowdsource some wisdom in real time. And my bet is that the future of QA, and really any knowledge work, is in human and AI collaboration. And those who learn how to work will thrive with AI, of course. And I have a few practical tips how to introduce AI in your testing process. Well, on my products, I always start with low risk, high reward applications. For example, at one of our projects, we use a custom AI tool based on OpenAI API to sift through the log files for anomalies. And this way, by starting with contained small experiments, team gains hands-on experience without putting our main project at great risk. It could be different things on different products, and that's your choice, of course. But the thing is to choose low risk but high reward applications that save time. And it's also important to define clear objectives. Of course, we always start with objectives, right? For example, we want to reduce escape defects by 10% per year. And this keeps the integration meaningful, right? And keep an eye on the results. If the AI isn't meeting the objective or causing too many false positives, problems, and so on, if it's too hard and just brings trouble to your project, don't be afraid to let it go. And then I recommend to try SPAR framework to double check if you can trust the AI output. If an AI writes test scripts, treat them like code from a junior colleague. Do code reviews, always. Incorporate manual exploratory testing alongside AI testing to catch any small errors that AI might miss, or big errors, big logical errors as well. Essentially, make QA of the AI work part of your process. And as you delegate more tactical tasks to AI, use this time that you just freed up to elevate your role. It's very important. For instance, you can join discussions to advocate for testability, to advocate for better user-centric design, and so on and so on. Because AI actually gives us an opportunity here. Since it can reduce the grunt work, we finally have more time to focus on strategic things. And last but not least, keep collaborating with developers, keep collaborating with other testing engineers, with product owners and users, because context is the king. It's our strength that we provide together with AI. And let's see what you all came up with. Well, a lot of nice ideas. It's clear from this cloud of ideas that AI opens many doors in our field, right? And thank you for sharing your thoughts. I actually encourage you to take a screenshot of this word cloud and reflect on it when time allows. And it's clear that AI opens many doors in testing. Why? Because we don't just test software, right? We experience it. And now, with the rise of AI, our job is much more than just spotting bugs. Instead, it's much more about understanding humans and making sure that it feels right to test, to use the product. Well, I believe that AI in QA is not the end of our profession. To me, it's a new chapter. And the idea that AI will replace testers is too simple and not backed by reality, as we just seen. Yes, of course, QA is changing, but the change brings opportunity. And if we know AI limits and strengths, then we can let it handle the routine while we focus on what humans do best. Um, yeah, when you step forward, shake the hands of AI and bring it into your corner, and then you will suddenly have an unstoppable, really capable and strong partner. Don't fear AI. That's my last words to you. Don't worship it. Stay curious, stay critical, keep learning. Long live human intelligence and long live testing. Thank you.
Wow, what an awesome session. I'm sure our audience enjoyed. And it's clearly evident because of the number of questions that we have. It says,
Cool.
yeah, it speaks. So let's pull up questions to the screen. Yeah.
Sure. Go ahead. Yes.
So this is our first question, and perhaps
Mhm.
the most voted question. What practical steps can QA professionals take to adapt
Mhm.
and stay relevant in an AI-driven testing world?
Well, AI is a big technology, and there are a lot of ways to start doing and applying AI in your work. And the thing is to keep it hands-on, well, to keep it practical. While starting small, it's easy to start because the biggest fear that most of testing professionals feel is that where do I start? How do I start? Do I am I allowed to start using AI, right? And then two things that I think are most important is that for managers to create a safe space to experiment, to make it okay to experiment, um, and to make it easy to start. And starting small is the key. So don't try to implement a big thing all at once. Start small, and that's the key.
Great.
And I think those of us who try to implement small products and then iterating through them and trying to apply them at work on live projects will thrive and um, will be rewarded professionals even in the next few and maybe a lot of years, a lot of coming years.
Great, absolutely. Well, now let's jump on to another question.
Yes.
So, how can experienced QA leads effectively mentor their teams to use AI as a productivity tool rather than a crutch that hinders their professional growth?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Uh, well, here I think it's important to promote sharing, knowledge sharing, to promote um, to share even small wins, because it feels like everyone is talking about AI, right? But at the same time, there are very, very few examples, practical examples, shared on LinkedIn space or on projects that show real effects of AI where it helps. So here, I think it's important to make the space of showing creativity, showing um, little success stories, or maybe even fail stories as well, because it's also important to share that there is no perfect technology. We're humans. We're also not perfect. So AI is. And failures also show us something. They learn us something. They bring us insights that we maybe don't get when everything goes smoothly.
Great. So, let's jump on to our next question on the screen. With AI handling more of the repetitive work, is knowledge of traditional frameworks still a core skill, or has the center of gravity moved towards AI based testing practices?
Mm.
Interesting.
I believe that basics are not going to go anywhere. Well, we need to have strong basics if we want to work with AI. Because the thing is, AI is non-deterministic. So to apply the responses that we get from AI in any form, whether it's a chat or a coding assistant, we need to be able to evaluate the responses. So even though AI or generally LLMs, they're huge time savers when it comes to coding tasks and maybe generating some test data or test cases. We still need to know how it works under the hood, how we use tools like automation frameworks, traditional frameworks, how they work under the hood, and what is the most optimal way of using them. Otherwise, it might end up in a messy testing framework that no one knows how to fix, including AI.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. So now the next question on the screen. So, what's the biggest challenge QA professionals face in adapting to AI-infused workflows?
Mhm. Um, I think it's the lack of examples, the lack of good examples, the lack of best practices, because the technology is really new and no one knows what's the best way of using them, right? We're all in the same seat here. I can't say what's the only way of using it uh, for most efficiency gains. And I think that's the biggest challenge, that we are in the beginning of the big change. We don't know where everything is going to go, how it is going to change, and what are the best areas to apply it. Because what I think is that many companies are pushing us to, for example, use AI and coding assistants to generate UI tests, for example. But in my opinion, that's not maybe not the best way of starting to use LLMs, for example, because I think that yeah, for example, API tests, they kind of, they're easier to manage in the legacy environments that we currently have. Of course, if we use it for UI tests, for example, for automating UI tests, that's a big helper, and efficiency gain if it works. But if it's not, then it's a big trouble, right? So yeah, the biggest challenge is to find good application areas, I think, and to find the support that you need to start going. And that's why I think that conferences and forums like this are really important, so that we could exchange information, exchange possible areas where to start, and to get to know what others are doing with AI and where it works best.
Right. Well, so I see a repetitive question, and now so we'll skip that and let's bring this up. What is the single most important piece of advice you would give a junior QA engineer who is starting their career in this AI-driven world?
You know, I'm teaching students
Mhm.
and who just start with testing, and recently I started to start my courses with the warning, because I really love students using AI to enhance their work and to make it better, to use it as a tutor, to use it as someone who explains how things work when there is no one there to help, right? But I really believe that everyone should start with the basics first. Everyone is supposed to start with the um, basics to know how things work. Because as soon as we start just copying, pasting answers and pretend it to be our work, we start losing control. We start to be devaluated as professionals, because anyone can do that, right? If you just copy and paste answers, then you're not a professional. Anyone can do that today. So invest in basics, invest in strong testing process knowledge, in testing um, management skills, in strong programming basics. That's the core of our profession. Invest in strong curiosity and critical thinking skills. That's where everything starts. And don't rely on AI too much. Use it as a helper, not as a substitute to our thinking.
Great. Thank you, Maryia. So we are already up. Thank you, everyone, for joining the session. And before you go, a few quick reminders. All the sessions are recorded, and you'll get the sessions on your registered email address. And if there has been any learning from the session, please feel free to post it on social media with #TestMuCon. And thank you very much, Maryia. It's been a pleasure hosting you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me, and thank you, the best audience, for your questions and your engagement in this session. It was really nice being here. Thank you very much.